The Auditor General identified a number of board members who had conflicts of interest. The one who had by far the most in the Auditor General's list was André-Lise Matot. Her firm, which she founded in 2009, called Cycle Capital, which is a firm that invests in clean technology or green technology based in Quebec, has had considerable business. So the Green Slush Fund is a little over $1 billion since its inception, and around, including those identified by the Auditor General and other ones that André-Lise Matot identifies on her own website that she's invested in. The total so far is, are you waiting for it? $250 million of Green Slush Fund money, a quarter of Green Slush Fund money, has gone into organizations, businesses that Cycle Capital has an investment interest in. Now, on the wonderful website that was in the news on the weekend called LinkedIn, you can find out wonderful and incredible information. And current Liberal Radical Environment Minister Guilbeault proudly lists that he was the strategic counsel for Cycle Capital for a decade before he was elected in 2019. And guess what he did in that role? He was the in-house paid lobbyist. And during his time as a paid lobbyist for Cycle Capital received $172 million of the $250 million. That came out of the Green Slush Fund. And in the year and a half before Minister Guilbeault was elected in 2019, he lobbied PMO, and I said 25 times, according to the lobbyist register, on behalf of Cycle Capital for SDTC funds. Very successful lobbyist, obviously, and as part of Minister Guilbeault's reward, Minister Guilbeault got shares compensation in Cycle Capital. Those shares are not held in a blind trust. They are publicly available to see on his conflict of interest disclosure through the Ethics Commissioner's office. He still owns those shares. Since he joined Cabinet, Cycle Capital received $750 million of additional money in the dying days of Minister Navdeep Bain's time as the Minister of Industry. Minister Navdeep Bain, you'll recall, is now selling the largest and most expensive cell phones in the world at Rogers now. As his reward for bringing down Rogers' cell phone rates, they rewarded him with a job to promote the most expensive cell phone company in the world. So he gave them $750 million while Minister Guilbeault was still in Cabinet. Then, for 40 months or so, while Minister Champagne was the minister, and had a senior assistant deputy minister in every investment committee and board meeting where 82% of the time they were voting conflicts of interest, including conflict of interest, declared conflicts of interest into companies that André-Lise Matot owned through Cycle Capital, which Minister Guilbeault has shares in to this day. That happened. So the line not only extends from the Prime Minister's office, who appointed the chair over her conflicts, even though they were warned about it. PCO has said that that's where it came from. And not only has the Prime Minister's office tried to thwart the House of Commons by asking departments to redact their documents from the disclosure the House of Commons asked for SDTC. We have an actual Minister of the Crown who happens to be the Minister of the Environment, which might have some interest in SDTC and its performance, who actually is financially gaining. And by that, I mean Cycle Capital, since André-Lise Matot was put on the board in 2016, tripled in value from $200 to $600 million. Pretty good return for all this. And as we know, because we've had lots of testimony on it, that when a company received a grant from SDTC, that was like a grant a stamp of approval from the Government of Canada, which allowed those companies to then go out and arrange for other funding, which they may have had difficulty getting. Not just funding from other parts of the government, but just general capital, raising capital. So I think Minister Guilbeault needs to attend our study. He was not on our original list, but the evidence has come up as a result of examination of his public disclosure. And I believe this committee, he needs to be accountable to this committee and testify as part of our ongoing examination. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. As I said, I'm going to suspend just for